Norvell and Florida State are not done yet in the 2025 recruiting class and the high school level. As we know, they've been very active this offseason so far on the offensive and defensive side of the ball through the transfer portal. They fit some holes that they've needed to fulfill, some guys that they want to bring in to be immediate playmaking factors for them going into this next season. But still, at the high school level, they want to have some younger guys that they can develop with, definitely with this new coaching staff coming in. As we know, Florida State's new defensive lines coach, he is going to be taking care of the entire unit. Previously, Odell Haggins took care of the trenches, and Coach John Papuchis, former Florida State's defensive ends coach, still going to be special teams coach, who's now gone over to the linebackers coach. Now, Terrence Knight has the entirety of that defensive line coach to be developed, and we'll also see Odell Haggins too, and see what his involvement is on an off-the-field kind of role going into this next season. But Florida State is in the running for one of the top prospects left unsigned in this 2025 class, and this is Zahir Mathis, a 6'6", 225 pound defensive end, really lengthy, got a big frame on him, can most certainly add some size to his frame going into the collegiate level. He's ranked as the 75th overall prospect per 247 Sports, number 6th edge in the country. He's ranked as the number 3 recruit in the Pennsylvania class of 2025. Some of his stats through his high school career, his last season at least, in his senior year, 30 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. He had a season high of 7 tackles, 1 tackle for loss versus George Washington High School. He is selected and is currently now in Orlando performing at the Under Armour All-American game. He originally was committed to Ohio State, as you saw in the thumbnail there, but reopened his recruitment in November. Florida State is one of the top schools left in his recruitment. He's starting to trim down some of these schools here before he signs in February. Florida State definitely in the mix here, but UCLA and Michigan are here as well. Oregon was also in the mix previously, but it seems like it's starting to thin out between Florida State, UCLA, and Michigan. Of course, you also got to keep an eye on to Ohio State, his previous commitment there, just because of the ties. But it seems like Florida State is in a good running spot for a really talented top defensive end in his class. His official visit to Florida State, he told NoleGameday, it'll be January 11th through the 13th. Now, what does Florida State have currently in its room? Well, you are starting to build some younger guys, and this is where wanting to bring in some high school level prospects is huge. So Florida State did do a couple of moves to bring in immediate impact. And with this, they brought in James Williams from Nebraska. That comes with Tony White, Florida State's new defensive coordinator. And of course, Terrence Knight, as previously mentioned earlier in this video. And then 2, Western Kentucky defensive end, Deontay McCray. So some guys with experience. Deontay McCray still going to have to be a guy that you develop because he's got a couple years of eligibility remaining. But for James Williams, he's a guy that can come in and be an immediate pass rushing attacker for you. What did the Seminoles do at the high school level, though, in this last class? Well, they brought in a guy that I think is going to develop really nicely if things go according to plan. But LaJesse Harold, I think, is a really nice prospect. They brought in a 4-star edge, 6'4", 235 pounds, already a bigger frame than most defensive ends coming in at his level, a really athletic and physical pass rusher with really strong high school productions. And I really liked his stat line coming out of the high school level. You also brought in Tylon Lee, 6'3", 230, really high motor and versatility off the edge. Then you also brought in 2 brothers that play the defensive end position with Daryl Desir and Mendrell Desir. But, Florida State is working a ton still at this defensive end room. I think it's really impressive because they've got to build some kind of development there at that rim. There was definitely a disappointment in 2024 when you saw Pat Payton and Marvin Jones Jr. just wasn't a threat. It felt like you kind of were questioning if they were, how good was their motor? It wasn't that great. Like, was there any kind of, attack to the quarterback at some points in games? It wasn't that way with what you had previously when you had Jared Verse off the edge, who's absolutely exploding in the NFL. And of course, Braden Fisk up the middle helped a ton to help Pat Payton and others off the side of the ball. But Florida State's pass rush and developing some of these guys needs to happen. And they do have some guys with a lot of not really a lot of eligibility, but the guys that have been actually on the roster for a while that we just have not seen development happen. And I think bringing in a handful of guys like this with Terrence Knighton, I think FSU fans want to just see guys get better and grow and can be pivotal players for you that you can throw out there instead of having to rely on transfers to come in and to replace them and come in and be immediate starters like we'll expect James Williams to be in this new defense under Tony White. So definitely going to be keeping a close eye on Zahir Mathis here and this recruitment. I think Florida State's in a great spot here, and we'll just see how well Terrence Knighton and Tony White, of course, Mike Norvell too, can close with one of the top unsigned prospects still left in this 2025 class. But I'm all about getting guys in the trenches and off the edge. Sign me up, get as many as you can on your roster. And this landing right here would certainly be very impressive after a rough 2-10 season, and Florida State doing what they needed to do in this early signing period. Let's see if they can close on something really nice here in the edge room moving forward. So let me know what you think about Mathis down below in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and hit subscribe. We've got tons of videos coming your way. So hit subscribe so you get notified every time we have a new video uploaded to YouTube. Thanks for watching.